this is where your first wife used to live.
Yes,
And-
with her family.
Uh-huh.
And I knew her brother, Alfred Drayton, because we had met. I got kicked out of Brooklyn Prep, Jesuit High School, which is
Right.
now McGavin. They sent me to Canarsie High School saying, well, you got to get your Regents credits, because I had a half scholarship to Brown University, because I was doing recycling before it was even, in vogue, environmental studies they had. So I was introduced to the Angela Davis, George Jackson, the Brothers Solidarity Club after school
Uh-huh.
by the history teacher, because Alfred Drayton went there, and his sister was there. And she had this gorgeous afro. Looked like Angela Davis. I was in love with Angela Davis at that time.
Everybody was, right.
So on the porch, I would come respectfully, talk to her. She was from St. Croix, Virgin Islands, her family. And then eventually we got married at a Baptist church. And then we moved in across the street, second floor. We then moved to Far Rockaway because her child was being cared for by her grandmother from a first relationship she had. And we moved into Ocean Village, which is where Cheryl Lewis moved in.
Yeah. Okay.
Almost the same time.
Okay. Interesting. So living across the street from the in-laws, that must have been a challenge, I would assume.
No, the only challenge was when they would force me to eat the callaloo.
You didn't like the callaloo?
Oh my God, I was living in the porcelain palace after that.
Okay.
So the spinach, they'd have pig's knuckles in there, they'd have other delights, but callaloo did not agree with me.
So this is the late 70s, mid-70s.
This is 74 to 76.
74 to 76.
And just as then, when we would walk in the streets, we go down here, Hageman to New Lots, we go up to Pitkin, go up Rockaway. I would call it back then the ER belt. The food, horrific. I call it the KKK. They had Tropical Fantasy Punch, remember?
Yeah.
No, the real KK, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Kennedy Chicken, Kansas Chicken. There was no decent food, and there's no decent food here now. So if you want to get healthy food, you almost can't find any.
I did not know you were interested in any kind of healthy food. I watched you chug
Exactly.
those bottles of cola and all that crap that you used to eat.
I knew fried foods were not good for me.
Okay.
And I knew even then, because from the family, the blood pressure, the diabetes, which was, you could see, debilitating.
Sure.
And everything was fried.
Sure.
And if you looked for an alternative, which my wife always looked for, greens, you'd be hard pressed to find any then or now.
So you're talking about a half century later.
Yes.
And even when you were there, this neighborhood was known as a tough place.
Condition, like it was Stone Avenue first, then it became Mother Gaston Boulevard.
Yeah.
18 public housing projects. I was in and out of all of them. They had Jolly Stompers and Tomahawks. Those were the two gangs. They all were out to get me. See, that started early before I even started the Guardian Angels.
So what do you take from your time here as a young man that you would bring to City Hall?
Well, first off, Republicans never come here. Never have. Rudy didn't in his heyday. Bloomberg didn't. They just avoid it, assuming that everybody is a Democrat or they don't vote. There's a lot of people just don't vote. And because I've lived here and I've dealt with people from Brownsville and East New York and Canarsie, I call it the trifecta, the Trinity, because I've lived all three places. I can never forget that the same problems are still plaguing them. Now, up there used to be the burned out tenements. When the Bronx was on fire, burning, this part of Brooklyn was burning.
Yeah.
And they built the Nehemiah homes, much better improvement. People had, personal space. Those co-ops opposite our headquarters, my uncle, Jimmy Scalone, was a butcher. The union funds went into establishing co-ops. You look at that building, how many years later?
Yeah.
Good shape.
Solid, yeah.
Well maintained.
Yeah.
It's what I said should be in the projects. People should have ownership of their apartments. Ownership will lead to them getting more involved. Even if they're poor and indigent, I don't care if it's $5, $10. I mean, about 30% have to pay rent based on, how much they're making. They have to pay 30%. But the point is, ownership changes everything. Co-ops, condos. You look at all that. the chairman of HUD at that time, Jack Kemp, in Reagan
Yes.
time, Republican. Great idea, ownership. And guess who shot it down? Not the Democrats, the Republicans.
Right.
Because their attitude is, well, maybe these people can't handle it. What are you talking about? They can't handle it. You know they have tenant councils. They used to have tenant patrols in the toughest projects.
Yeah, that's
You'd
right.
have to
That's
come
right.
in and sign in, and it'd be mostly grandmas downstairs. You'd have to sign in. And if you didn't have business there, if you didn't know somebody there, they turn you away. There's a grandmother standing up to the Jowie Stompers and the Tomahawks. And believe it or not, those guys would stay away. So I saw all that firsthand. I know what works. I know what doesn't work, obviously. The school systems, a lot of children here who need alternative schools, vocational training. By fourth grade, a lot of these kids cannot read, write, or do math at grade level. And I remember in Gildersleeve Junior High School, where I went to in Canarsie, you had a guidance counselor. By eighth grade, that guidance counselor would sit you down. Curtis, do you ever think of culinary, art, metal shop, wood shop? You ever think, there are a lot of good schools like Westinghouse, downtown Brooklyn, here are all the skills. What they were politely telling you, and in your best interest, is maybe academically, you weren't going to get your Regents credits. Because back then we had 3 graduation certificates. You had, obviously, Regents, vocational, you had a lot more vocational training, and you had the degree, you got the graduation certificate, general they called it, which meant you inhaled and exhaled. And through social promotion you got through, which benefited nobody.
Right. Okay.
Now see, perfect example.
Yeah.
Supermarket, right?
Yeah.
Look at the selection compared to other neighborhoods.
Right.
Trader Joe's, call it Trader Jose's for probably Hispanic will own it, because they're very, Dominicans especially. Poor selection.
No produce, right.
No
That's
encouragement to have a better selection.
Yeah. Well, the current mayor was supposed to do something about that, right?
Yep.
Based on his own personal experience.
And I complimented him
And he
for
did
that.
some of it, right, with the school lunches and so forth, yeah. What would you do more? How would you get better food here?
Well,
Yet another
first of
chicken
all,
store.
the merchants are going to say to you, are you crazy? This is what people want. If I offer this and this, then you have to subsidize. Now, you don't go the whole way of Zohar Mandami,
Yeah.
city supermarkets, because I would say to Zoran, which I'll say in the debate, Zoran, maybe you can show us a way to stop shoplifting, because they're going to come in and shoplift you too in those city supermarkets. That's the quickest way to go out of business. You don't have to worry about getting
shrinkage,
customers.
they call it, yes.
Right,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I would have people go, okay, what is it going to take for you to offer some variety without it killing your customer base? And then it's a slow progression.
So you're a Republican, you've been here, they've seen you, but no particular relationship to the head of the party, Donald Trump.
Right.
Does that help? Does that hurt? What does that do for you?
I think it hurts with some, helps with others. I think I've always been a populist, going way back. People don't identify. They'll know, oh, okay, you're a Republican. But normally it's Curtis, the guardian angel.
Do you
guy.
know Trump? You must have crossed paths with him at some
We've
point.
had a love-hate relationship for over 30 years.
Uh-huh.
In fact, the funniest thing, we were both given the New York State Conservative Party Award of the Year in about 1986.
Okay.
So we're at the 69th Street Armory, summer. Cindy Adams was the mistress of ceremonies.
Okay.
It wasn't Michael Long, it was the chairman beforehand.
Right.
So I look at Donald, he's in tux, I'm in the red. I said, Donald, I'm not a conservative. What are we gonna do? Because I know you're not a conservative.
Yeah.
He goes, just enjoy it. Don't offend them. Accept the awards. And there's no air conditioning here, so let's keep it brief. He wasn't a conservative. I've never been a conservative.
Interesting.
I've never had the Conservative Party line. I haven't sought it. They're nice people. Rudy never had it. Bloomberg never had it. So this perception that all Republicans have to be conservatives is a misnomer. I'm a populist.
Well, yeah, Rudy didn't. I mean, he worked out that whole thing with Ray Harding through the Liberal Party.
Right, but remember the DSA guy, this is what people forget, it's David Dinkins.
Yeah.
DSA is not new. I have to inform him. I used to say to Rudy, you're telling us Dinkins is the limousine liberal, but you're on the Liberal Party line. And then he would say, yeah, but Dinkins is a socialist. Well, what are you talking about? He was a proud member of the DSA.
He was.
So this is not new. You know, this guy, he campaigned against Melinda Katz for Tiffany Caban for DI. I remember seeing him. He was the organizer. He was great at organizing. Remember, the night of the election, Melinda Katz lost on the ballot. 3,000 absentee ballots, and she only won by a few handfuls.
Right.
But how were they able to beat, at least on election night, a moderate, Jewish, Democrat who had been assemblywoman, councilwoman, land use chairman, borough president? The Democrats didn't wake up. They lost the AOC, Crowley didn't run. Now they're, sorry. No. They've been steadily organizing. He was a great organizer in the streets. I watched myself. I warned them. I said, these guys are everywhere. Oh, I got Southeast Queens Meeks. And that's what would say her Jewish voters didn't show up. I said, well, what happened?
What do you see happening this time?
Well, they got a lot of foot soldiers out there. We have our get out the vote effort. We come across them. We're in some of the same neighborhoods like Park Slope, Brooklyn Heights, Carroll Gardens, Long Island City, Astoria. That AOC 2 years ago, the People's Republic of Astoria, because every elected official was DSA. And the low person on the poll was Zoran Mandami at that time.
Yeah.
Not even his neighbors knew who he was. So him whipping, beat badly Cuomo, ran no campaign. He has no skills with the public. You can't, and he's running the same campaign again, except now he's the ultimate flip-flop man. Today we were at Crane's. Now he comes in after me. Yeah, we're going to keep Rikers Island open. We're going to retrofit it. I said, well, wait. The guy wanted to close it a decade ago. What are you talking about? You had no way to house the inmates then.
What do you think's going on with him? We did notice that. That was a big change.
He's going after my vote.
Okay.
He's made that very clear. Independent, conservative, Republicans. But you're not true to who you are. They think people are stupid. I've been in these conversations with Republicans and Democrats. This is what they say. They won't remember what you said 5 seconds ago, 5 minutes ago, 5 weeks ago, 5 months ago, 5 years ago. I said, you really think people are stupid, huh? I don't. I trust the people. I don't trust you guys. Because you show me at any moment you'll flip-flop. And they don't even hesitate.
Less than 30 days until the election. Somebody's going to get sworn in 58 days after that. So it's really right upon us, less than 90 days. If you're elected, what do you do in your first 100 days? What's on the agenda?
First 100 days, first day, you go out to the precincts. You shake the hands of every police officer you can, man and women, serving, not just normal shift, but swing shift, graveyard shift. And I got to try to return their qualified immunity. See, it's a difficult term for people to understand. But our city council stripped them of the insurance that protects all the other civil servants. So, got to do negotiation with the city council. But what I will say in each precinct, if you don't have qualified immunity, which they don't, protection from personal lawsuits, I give up my qualified immunity. Jumani, are you going to give up your qualified immunity? And go right on down the line. Why should they be separate and succinct? And then the corrections officers have to deal with them. They have the hardest job in the city. They're on a 12-hour 911 call on a ship. Most are women of color, getting sexually harassed, sexually assaulted, and then the inmates get put back right in the tier. Where's the Me Too movement for them? They have nobody representing their needs. Those are two people I would immediately address that I would be responsible for. And then we would be dealing with issue by issue by issue in the first 100 days. You know, everybody promises day one, I'm going to sign an executive order. Remember de Blasio? I'm going to get rid of the horse-drawn carriages. He lied because he knew he couldn't do that. It had to be done by city council. But notice how consistent I've been. I've always been opposed to it with my wife, 2021. Now, who's on board? Zorhan, Eric Adams, Cuomo, welcome on board. I'm ahead of the curve in many instances, but I'm always consistent.
Okay, so there's a couple of issues there. Housing, affordability, what everybody keeps talking about. What's the early agenda for that? What do you do to help people who are in a crunch right now, facing eviction right now, can't find an apartment right now?
use Brownsville as a perfect example. There's been a housing crisis ever since I lived here from 74 to 76. Across the street at co-ops that I was introduced to as a young boy, 1960, by my uncle, whose unions invested all their pension funds. We go across there today, except for the barbed wire and the scaffolding, which is like everywhere in the city. It's the same. These are tenants. They have their council, their co-op council. They do maintenance. They have a great place to live. If you were to say that to people, Brown say, oh, you're kidding. Public housing, there's 18 units I've been in and out of over the years. People should have the right of ownership. Jack Kemp said that as U.S. Secretary of HUD under Reagan. Great football player, congressman. My own Republicans turned down that idea. What? People who are poor and indigent, people of color are not capable of ownership? We know that's true. They are capable of ownership because look at all the people who own homes here. One of which I lived in for 2 years when I was first married.
Let's talk about income. We looked at some of the numbers. Median household income in this area in Brownsville, this is 2023 numbers, $43,000, which is about 45% less than the citywide median. Yeah. Very low. 32% living in poverty. Do you see it as your role, if you're the mayor, to help reverse those trends? And if so, how do you do that?
Well, especially the other area that I spent a lot of time in, the South Bronx, which has similar conditions. That's why I started the Guardian Angels. It hasn't gotten any better. And we've had a series of Democrats, and we had Republicans. They never really addressed this issue. Now, I'm not omnipotent. I don't declare to have all the answers. I know we're jumping right into a fiscal crisis that may be the same as it was in the late 70s when I formed the Guardian Angels, and Ed Koch, who had just been elected, had to answer to our financial control board put together by Governor Carey. You had Roatan, the banker, Gottbaum, the union leader. They invested their monies to keep us afloat. The state has got to balance its budget. DiNapoli says, hey, $36 billion gap. Trump keeps cutting. And Eric Adams had a budget for his reelection that was overblown. So I got to do the spreadsheets first. Because, everybody likes to make promises. Zoran, oh, my God, he's promising everything under the sun. He's had to step back and say, well, if I don't get to $10 billion from the 1%, the richest, I may have to try to get it from somewhere else. Hey, Zoran, there's nowhere else to get it. So the point is, I'm at least being honest. Let's see where the money is. Let's see what we can do. But I am not going to forsake the people of Brownsville, East New York, and the South Bronx who gave me the credibility of being leader of the Guardian Angels of a group that started in urban areas.
Well, you recently said that you don't fear socialists. There are a number of people who do, who are afraid of what is happening. Something about the Mamdani candidacy, the DSA in general, has them very concerned. Why do you think so much of the campaign has gone into that? Why has that been such an important thing?
If I were to take 1,000 people and line them up in any neighborhood in New York City, you think they know the difference between a communist and a socialist? Now, I'm a Cold War baby, so that was drilled into us. Nikita Khrushchev, we will bury you. We had to go under the desk every day and fear the dropping of, nuclear weapon. Nowadays, I have to chide. So many people are getting hysterical. We've had socialists who served in the city council. We have communists who served in the city council. We had a congressman from East Harlem who was a socialist. In fact, Fiorello LaGuardia, that we look to as a paragon of, voiding political corruption, was a Republican who was a liberal who was part of the American Labor Party, which was socialist. So I'm not afraid of them. I'll campaign against them. I disagree with a lot of what they stand for, but Zoran Mamdani is what he says he is, a democratic socialist of America. And guess what? So was David Dinkins. He was the most famous of the Democratic Socialists of America. And that year when Rudy defeated him, Rudy was running on the Liberal Party line. And I was involved in both the campaigns, the one he lost to Dinkins, fair and square, and the one he won against Dinkins, fair and square.
Yeah, no, that's right. You used to be the head of the Reform Party. You've been sort of switching labels.
Well, I tell you, remember, Rudy would have somebody warm up the crowd at first. And then you had Jackie Mason, and he said some untawdry things about David Dinkins.
I remember.
So they had to give him eggs and left. And so they said, Curtis, can you introduce Rudy at the rallies? That's how I sort of became almost an apprentice of observing him in a political race that was very close, in which, we always say it was whites voting in Staten Island in incredible numbers for the secession issue that Guy Molinari, who was a mayor maker, created. No. You look at the analytics, Southeast Queens did not turn out for Dinkins like they did the first time. Remember, it was a 60% turnout in the first election, 57% turnout in the second election of registered voters. And a lot of the middle class African-American house owners of Southeast Queens, they didn't vote for Rudy. They just didn't vote.
They didn't vote, yeah. Okay, interesting. When we're through with the debates and all of this is done, what's your game plan as far as your street action to try and turn out a winning percentage of votes for yourself?
Well, you can't just go into areas that you're going to get applause. They like applause. Friends, they like to be with friends who reinforce you're going to win, you're going to win. And there are neighborhoods I could do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
No. You got to go into all the Zoranista areas. You got to go into Astoria, Long Island City. You got to go into the Wick, Bushwick. You got to go into the Slope, Park Slope, Brooklyn Heights, Carroll Gardens, Sunset Park. All the areas he did well in. Ridgewood along Fresh Pond Road, which has changed significantly. And these are mostly millennials and Gen Zers. Most of them have not decided to support Zoran. They're generally not involved at their age. So I have to approach them with my supporters and say, there is an alternative. And the alternative, Curtis Sliwa. I'm the populist Republican. A lot of them will say, Republican, I said, well, you got a chance to vote for me on an independent line, Save Animals, in which no-kill shelters put animal abusers in jail. A lot of women like that, especially. Like my wife designed this because she's dedicated her life to rescuing. Men don't understand it. But a lot of the millennials and Gen Zers, they are far more animal-friendly in that regard than sometimes their parents or grandparents.
Okay, so you have way more money than you had last time.
Yeah.
Way more visibility.
Yeah.
In some ways, a smaller field, right? I mean, it's you, Mamdani, and Cuomo. So you've gotten a sustained amount of attention. How do you feel about your chances between now and November?
Very good, because I'm the only one. I've been dubbed the mass transit mayor by the Staten Island Advance. Because I'm the only one on mass transit.
Yeah.
Now think of it. I'm in the subways. I'm on the normal buses. I'm on the express buses. Close to 6 million people at different levels each day go. Some ride 2, 4, or sometime 1. Why wouldn't you want to be down there? The old classic politician would stand at the entrance of a subway and give their palm cards.
That's right.
They won't even do that now because they will catch hell. What are you going to do about the homeless down there? You're emotionally disturbed. The system's falling apart. What about the fare evaders? They're going under the turnstile over. And then I, being the idiot, have to pay my fare. You notice they don't even do that. They don't want to be anywhere near mass transit. So I think that exposes me to a lot of potential voters who haven't yet made up their mind, and they get to cross-examine me. It's a great focus group. When the doors close, friends, foes, and a lot of people, they'll line up. Come on, Sliwa. That was a political answer. I'm going to ask you again. Everybody's listening. It's like, I'm sweating. I'm schwitzing here. It's like, wow, this is a really good question. I got to think about this one.
All right. We'll see you down in the subways.
Oh,
Thanks a lot.
that's what I love, the subways, the veins
Good.
and arteries of the city.